Hi everybody, it's Adam, the geneticist from Verdure Healthcare. So today we're going to talk about chromosome 13. So as you might know already that chromosome 13 is the 13th largest in the human genome, and so today we're going to focus on that. Okay, so chromosome 13 actually makes up about 3.5% of our total genes, right? And what's the difference between chromosome, DNA, and a gene again? Alright, let me give you a bit of a revision. So we humans, in fact every living thing is made out of cells. So each and every one of those cells, there is a command center in them. It's called the nucleus. And within that, within this command center, there will be the chromosome, which is the ultimate commander of everything that's happening in the cell. Okay, so what is exactly a chromosome? In fact, chromosome, DNA, and genes are all the same thing, except the term that you're using describes the different levels. Okay, so chromosome is the whole pack of DNA or the gene. When you unwind this, just like when you brought home a ball of string from Mr. DIY, you unwind it, then you'll be able to see the DNA in it. So a string of this chromosome is called the DNA. If you zoom into this DNA, you will be able to see the genes, all right? And something interesting to worth note is that every living thing on this earth is made out of four code of life, including G, C, A, and T. You don't have to remember these, but it's something interesting to know. So if you line up a banana's DNA and a human DNA, you'll find 60% similarity. Alright, so chromosome 13 has over 114 million DNA pieces. That is very long. All right, and within this chromosome 13, there is about 308 different kind of genes, all controlling different kind of stuff. Okay, so let us draw a bit of a summary here. There are two kinds of genetic disorders. One is a single gene disorder, which means that there is something wrong with either one or two pieces of the gene or DNA. And then we have the whole chromosome abnormality. It's called chromosomal abnormalities. Alright, so for this chromosome 13, in fact, it is a major disease chromosome. And unfortunately, the Asian population, we do have quite a number of the diseases that are related to chromosome 13. So some of the most common ones include autosomal recessive neurosensory deafness, breast cancer, Patel syndrome, retinoblastoma, which is part of the eye cancer, Wilson's disease, young man's syndrome. So today, we're going to talk about the autosomal recessive neurosensory deafness and the breast cancer, because I have to separate this talk into three major parts. And in the next talk, we'll talk about the Patel syndrome, and the one after that, we'll talk about the rest of the symptoms related to this chromosome. Okay, so what is autosomal recessive neurosensory deafness? So as you can judge by the name, it is a kind of deafness, all right? And this is the gene that controls this function. It's called JGB2. And in fact, at Verdure Healthcare, we have been running genetic tests for many couples preparing to conceive, and we do actually see that many people do have JGB2 mutations being carried, okay? So by now you should be able to tell the difference between an affected person with genetic disease and a carrier. A carrier will never have this disease affecting them, all right? So hearing loss can be on one ear, it's called the unilateral, and it can be affecting both ears, it's called the bilateral deafness. And one thing that is worth noting is that the degree of hearing loss can be from mild, so for example, you can't hear me speaking softly, or profound. Profound means that no matter how loud I speak, you will still not be able to hear me. But I shouldn't say goodness about this, but genetic disease are never good. But anyway, this deafness, it will not cause any other kind of like symptoms. Deafness is just deafness, unlike other syndromes that we have talked about in the previous slides, previous talks, okay, and then this is just deafness. But anyway, how did this get inherited? All right, so have a look at this chart over here. If, let's say, the father is being affected by this deafness disease, but the mother is normal in terms of hearing, then there is a 50% chance of the child being affected with neurosensory deafness. All right, so that's quite easy to understand. However, there is another situation that is not so easy. It's more complicated than that. Can you imagine if, let's say, both parents, they do carry this sort of gene in them, but, okay, it will not be affecting them, right? Because they're only carriers. And as a result, there is a 25% chance of their offspring being or getting this neurosensory deafness. Alright, so going away from deafness, let's talk about something that's very important today, breast cancer. Alright, and now why did I say it is such a big topic? Alright, because there are two kinds of breast cancer gene, not just one, but there are two. They include BRCA1 and BRCA2. BRCA stands for breast cancer. Okay, and the signs of breast cancer may be a lump in the breast, change in the shape or dimpling of the skin. These are the symptoms. Fluid coming out from the nipple or the pus. Okay, a newly inverted nipple or a red or scaly patch of skin. Now, many people mistakenly thought that only women will get breast cancer. That is absolutely wrong. Men will get breast cancer as well, and these symptoms will apply to men as well. Okay, and unfortunately, many people, they will notice cancer only when it is too late. So the first stage is the easiest to cure. So when you feel a lump in the breast, you better get it checked. So within half a year or worse, within a few months, it can spread to other organs via the lymph node. So breast cancer, in fact any cancer, the cells would be spread into other organs via the lymph node and also through the bloodstream. All right, so it depends on where they land. But when this cancer gets spread to distant organ, you may feel bone pain, swollen lymph nodes. So for example, under here, under the arm, you might feel like, okay, it's very difficult in terms of raising the arm or even closing the arm. Shortness of breath, it's a very common symptom, or yellowish skin. Okay, so these are the signs that you never want to get. But why am I focusing on cancer so much today? Because, you see, it is a little bit different in terms of the patterns of inheritance compared to other diseases. Other diseases, you need two genes in order to really be affected, just like the neurosensory deafness we talked about. But over here, all right, you only need one gene for it to affect you. So for example, if let's use a more uncommon example, but it will be an interesting one. Let's say the mother does not have any breast cancer gene, but the father does, all right? Remember that humans, we need to have 23 pairs of chromosomes. So on the 13th pair, let's just focus on that. If let's say the father has one piece of BRCA2 gene being mutated, then there is a 50% chance of the breast cancer being passed on to the next generation, and they too will be affected because you only need one genetic mutation for it to cause breast cancer. So as you can see, the problem now becomes twofold. The father himself has to worry about breast cancer, and since there is a 50% chance of passing that on, if let's say the child gets it, then he or she will also need to worry about breast cancer. Okay? So I hope you're getting the hang of the concept of breast cancer, because we will be diving deep in a very short moment. So at Verdure Healthcare, we have something called the pre-pregnancy cancer genetic screening. Alright, the name sounds interesting. I'm quite sure that, especially ladies, you might have heard of breast cancer screening, breast cancer gene testing, especially BRCA1 and 2. But why do we have this pre-pregnancy cancer genetic screening? Okay, let's just go back one slide. All cancers are genetic diseases, alright? No exception. Every cancer is a genetic disease. So it's just a question of whether have you received the inheritance from your parents, or are you having this cancer by yourself? It's called the spontaneous mutation, okay? Right, so let's talk about who are we to run this kind of a genetic test before we explain anything further. So at Verdure Healthcare, we have been receiving the Super Brand Award since 2021, and in this year we have received it as well. Thank you so much for your support. And all because of that, we are able to receive this kind of a privilege to run even more advanced cancer screenings, okay? And so for myself, okay, why are we not having cancer genetic screening everywhere in Malaysia or in the world? Because for that, you need to have a very specific qualification. So for myself, as you might know by now, I'm a Stanford University certified geneticist. But that is not enough for me to talk to you about cancer, because according to US regulations, we follow the US, you have to be further qualified in that specific field wherever you want to focus, just like doctors. Alright, so I'm also further certified by Harvard Medical School for cancer genomics and precision oncology. Furthermore, because we are running genetic tests, we have to be further qualified one more step, and with the same medical school, I have been qualified to run genetic tests and their sequencing technologies. So why do we need to get cancer screening before pregnancy? Okay, according to Cancer Research Malaysia, 1 in 4 Malaysians are affected by cancer, okay, straight away. So, and we hope to be able to reduce this number. It's quite scary, isn't it? There is a 1 in 4 chance, 25% chance of you getting cancer. And for yourself, okay, 2 reasons. One is for yourself, the prevention is always better than cure. And number 2, for the child. But anyway, let's just talk about yourself. More than 50% of the cancer cases are preventable. All right, you can take early precaution if you know the risk factors already. I'm sure that you would. Okay, let's just use lung cancer as an example here. If you do have lung cancer gene, meaning you're more prone to getting lung cancer, will you still smoke? Okay, will you still have poor diet or alcohol, physical inactivity, something like that? Or if, let's say, you do have a skin cancer genes, you might want to avoid the sun a little bit more. So these are the preventive measures that you yourself can do if you know that you have cancer genes. And also for our child, all right? Remember a few slides before we talked about how cancer genes work. You only need to have 1 mutation in your set of chromosomes in order for it to happen to you, and also 50% chance of this passing on to your next generation. Okay, so as we mentioned, that cancer is definitely a genetic disease. So what happened there? Why is it a genetic disease? Okay, let's just have a look at this graph here. Okay, so these are the normal cells. And normal cells, within there, what's in the cells? Chromosome and the genes, right? So if those get mutated, it will become a tumor, like that. Okay, and this tumor will grow, and it will just go haywire and never-ending growth. Okay, let's come back to breast cancer. What is BRCA gene. In fact, BRCA is not exactly the bad guy that we are thinking of. In fact, there are two kinds of cancer gene. One type is a technician to repair yourself. Number two kind of cancer gene is that when it never stops growing, so this is the growth factor, when it never stops, then it will become the cancer. So how can the breast cancer gene work? In fact, it is a technician. So if let's say there are some breast tissues or cells that are being damaged that needs repairing, then the BRCA technician will come and repair those for you. The cells will regrow and supposedly you are fine. However, if there's a mutation in the BRCA gene, what it does is that, for example, there are 100 cells that needs to be replaced, but BRCA here made you 1,000 cells. So this extra 900 cells, they will get damaged, it's just not supposed to be there. So these cells, they will grow into cancer. All right? And so this is the pattern of inheritance. Let's just use mom as an example. So if let's say the father is affected and the mother actually has one of the BRCA genes, so what's going to happen is that there is a 50% chance of this child getting breast cancer. And furthermore, because these children have the gene, they too will pass it on to their next generation. So it's a never-ending process. Okay, so if let's say you do have BRCA mutation, are you going to get breast cancer for sure? Not exactly, because, okay, let's just have a look at this graph over here. Okay, so by the age of 50, all right, so from birth by the age of 50, if you do have the BRCA gene mutation, what happens is that there is a 33 to 50% more chance of you having the breast cancer compared to 2% in the general population. 2% why? Because there are still risk factors such as environmental factors, stress, your lifestyle, everything. Okay, so that's why there's still a chance. But as you can see, if we compare breast cancer by the age of 70, it's just a difference of 20 years old. If you get a BRCA mutation, there is up to 87% chance of you getting the breast cancer. Why? Because, okay, as we age, our immune system is going to deteriorate, all right? Men and women, okay? So if that happens, our immune system wouldn't be able to fight cancer cells and to ensure that we are fit and healthy. All right. But unfortunately, we have been talking about breast cancer. It is due to the BRCA gene mutation. But BRCA gene mutation does not only involve breast cancer. It involves ovarian cancer as well in ladies. Okay? So if you do have the BRCA gene mutation, not only that you get around 50 to 70% chance of getting breast cancer over your lifetime, there is also up to 40% chance of getting the ovarian cancer. Okay, and even more unfortunate, according to many researchers from the US, from the UK, and around the world, okay, there are evidence to suggest that BRCA genes can cause fallopian tube cancer, uterine cancer, cervical cancer, peritoneal cancer, which is the kind of the organ over here, and then colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, all right, and prostate cancer is one of the more common ones as well. Okay, so obviously prostate cancer is more to guys. So imagine if you are a guy who has got this BRCA mutation, there is a chance of you getting peritoneal cancer, colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, and also prostate cancer. Okay. So how scary is cancer? All right. So in 2018, about 2 million women in Malaysia have been diagnosed with breast cancer. And I'm quite sure that many of these are due to an inheritance from the previous generation. So this is a research done by Cancer Research Malaysia. So if you're interested, you might want to go on that, and then you will be able to get more information about the situation of cancer in Malaysia. Okay, so as we mentioned just now, breast cancer, there are two of them, BRCA1 and BRCA2. So BRCA1 is actually in chromosome 17, which will involve a talk in the later lectures. And then chromosome 13 is the BRCA2. Okay. Right, and for our pre-pregnancy cancer screening, we will not just screen for 1 and 2 genes, but 82 cancer-causing genes, which relate to more than 200 types of cancer. And so yes, because we humans, we are not perfect, because according to a study by the University of Chicago, they are saying that humans carry at least 1 to 2 lethal recessive mutations on average. So these are just recessive mutations. How about cancer mutations? We really don't know. All right, so it's, if let's say you do have a family member or you personally are just afraid of getting cancer, please do come and contact us, and we will do our best to help you run the screening, and we will come up with a plan for you if in case you do have a mutation. So in the next session, we're going to talk about the Patel syndrome. Again, it's another major topic that we have to talk about, and it will involve another test. It's called the non-invasive prenatal test, which you need to do if you are pregnant for around 10 to 11 weeks. But we'll save that for our next session. In the meanwhile, if you're planning to conceive, we really do look forward to hearing from you. Our mission here at Verdure Healthcare is to ensure that you will have healthy offsprings. Okay? Right. So here is our number, and this video will be put onto YouTube on our channel, and we hope that you can share our video, like our channel, and subscribe to it. Until then, I'll see you next time for Chromosome 13 Part 2. Thank you very much.